Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, December the 20th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Uh, Now, we have apologies for the late start. Have a bit of trouble starting up here. Um, again, first of two shows this week. Isn't she pretty? Oh, wow, that was nice. Isn't she pretty? Um, Okay, so first of two shows this week. This, of course, our only primetime show of this week. Tomorrow will be our In the Spotlight Football Blitz at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you note that as we look back at this past weekend in the NFL, look ahead to this weekend, and preview all the great college football bowl games to come over the next few days. So we'll do all that on tomorrow's Football Blitz show. As for tonight, we have a lot of that. Okay. Okay. Strange things happening here tonight. Um, very, very strange things. Which I'm sure my co-host is very glad he's not here for, although he probably hears this and probably is cringing uncontrollably. But yeah. So anyway, we do have a mixed bag on. Oh my goodness. Um, oh, the mail is going to be continuous. Yes, it is. That's fun. That's fun. We have a mixed bag on tap for you tonight of sports, entertainment, and wrestling. We'll cover all aspects of sports, all big headlines from sports outside of football that we have to cover. We'll cover the fallout from WWE's Roadblock End of the Line pay-per-view on Sunday, and of course from Monday Night Raw last night. Talk about some SmackDown stuff that's going on here tonight. And then on the entertainment side of things, we do our box office being covered a few entertainment news pieces, and that'll be our show for tonight. As always, at the start of the show, I want to remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure that you like our fan page when you find it. All right, as I said, first of two shows. Tonight's our only primetime show. We will be preempted on Thursday in the Spotlight Football Blitz tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, that could be pushed back a little later, depends on things, but I don't anticipate that happening tomorrow. After tomorrow's Football Blitz show, our next show will not be until next Thursday. Doing something a little different this year with the holidays being on the weekend. Our next primetime show after tonight will be next Thursday, and our next show after tomorrow will be next Thursday, which is December the 30th. Not probably December the 29th, I should say. December the 29th. Thursday, December 29th will be our next primetime show. And that show will be just like tonight. A little bit of wrestling, a little bit of sports, a little bit of entertainment. And then we'll do our next edition of the Football Blitz. Of course, after tomorrow's Football Blitz on Friday, December 3rd. So tomorrow we have a Football Blitz show, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our next primetime show, Thursday, December 29th. 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then we'll have a Football Blitz show on Friday, December 30th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's the schedule for the next 2 weeks, and then after that, we'll be starting Tuesday, January 3rd. We'll be back to our normal schedule of 3 shows a week: Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, that whole deal for the foreseeable future. And we'll also start the In the Spotlight Film Awards process and all that good stuff, among other things, as we enter 2017. So just want to give you all a little bit of a look-see into what's coming up. As I wait for my coach, real quick, I want to bring up if I can get this going here, because I'm experiencing some issues as well on my end. Which is weird because it wasn't having a problem before. So bear with me, folks, here. It seems to be a little bit of a lag. I'll see what I can do about that here. As I also have a nose attack here. So that's nice. All right, so let me see here. Right here, okay. Should be improving this here. Maybe if I fix this will help my co-host as well. We'll see. And there. Okay. Bear with us, folks, here. Just trying to solve this here. Okay. All right. So I think that should fix the issue, hopefully. Hopefully. Doesn't mean it's going to, but hopefully. All right. So, really quickly here, as we start the night here, um, I want to acknowledge, and again, this has been this kind of year. You know, it seems like every show we've had to start, or even sometimes we end on this, but it seems like every show we've had to start with something, some horrible news, or one way or the other. But that's just the year we've had. It's just been that kind of year, unfortunately. We lost another major icon over the weekend, um, and hang on a second here. Here it is. Um, Zsa Gabor passed away at the age of 99 over the weekend. Now, for those that know, she was a Hungarian American actress. Um, she began a stage career in Vienna. Um, Vast career. I mean, a lot. Most of you probably know her from. She had a very glamorous life, very a style icon in a lot of ways. Um, was in a lot of films. Her first film was in Lovely to Look At. She was in the 1952 version, Moulin Rouge. Um, she again very extravagant Hollywood lifestyle. Quite a few spouses, but again, that's not how you characterize her. Um, she again style icon. She did a lot of film work, a lot of theater work. Um, it's a very vast career, and again, another icon of stage and screen, and um, again for a lot of people. I mean, you if you looked at magazines and you watched like Entertainment Tonight, you watch any award shows, you'd see her show up, glamorous, very old school Hollywood. You know, you see her. She had that classic look to her. Um, Classic look to her that was like literally taken out of the golden age of the 1920s, and just that's really what she embodied in a lot of ways, was that era of classic Hollywood. Sophistication, class, grace, and that's really what you're going to remember about her, is that a couple months shy of her 100th birthday. So Zsa Gabor, dead at the age of 99. May she rest in peace, and our condolences to her family, friends, and fans, and loved ones. Again, it's another icon that we've lost this year. Just again, you just wait for this calendar year to end, because it just seems like every day there's something. And we also want to acknowledge the horrible tragedy in Berlin yesterday. Um, again, it's just been so much this year. Um, so much tragedy, so many beloved names we've lost, so many people. It's just been one of those years that you want to forget. But yesterday, a horrible tragedy in Berlin. So our thoughts and prayers with the people of Berlin. To those that passed away, may they rest in peace. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the loved ones of those that lost their lives, to all those impacted by that horrific tragedy yesterday. We want to extend our condolences and thoughts and prayers. It's just a horrible, horrible piece of news that came out yesterday. So I just want to make sure we note that as well here at the start of the show. Um, my co-host appears to still be having some issues. I can hear you though, Mike. So I don't know if that's. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. He probably does hear me. I just probably can't. Let me see if I can help him out a little bit here. See if I can adjust this and make sure. All right, let's see if that helped. Maybe not. I'm not seeing anything. Okay. All right. So apparently we are still having issues, at least on getting Mike on here. So I tried to do some things on my end, but it didn't seem to work. So we have quite a bit to get to here tonight. And apologies for my runny nose right now. Until Mike gets on, I can't really do anything about it. So one quick announcement I want to make before we get into things here tonight. For those that are not aware, we did for the. Okay.
I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, well, I threw to you like 4 times. You didn't say anything.
Yes, I did. And what I said was, and I repeat, can you hear me?
No, nobody made out anything.
So can you hear me now?
Obviously, I can hear you. I can see you. It's perfect.
Because I'm running things on my iPhone. This is annoying as all shit.
Yeah, it is. No doubt.
I don't know at this point. I don't even know.
It is annoying. It is. This might be one of those situations where we have to do like a test run at my house or something and see what's going on with that, and see if we can coordinate. Because I've tried doing some things on my end. Nothing I did seemed to help on your side. So I don't know what the deal is.
Well, I could tell you right now from the last time, literally 2 minutes ago on the computer, the sound appeared to be working on my end.
Right. But everything that was coming through was just like, like that's all you really heard was a bunch of like ers and ahs, and that was it. So I don't know. It's something that it's going to be one of those things we're going to have to kind of coordinate and see what exactly is, you know what I'm saying? If there's something that, we'll try a few things and coordinate something. But anyway, really quickly, for those that are not aware, we did, for the first time in the history of In the Spotlight, I had to do a Saturday show. I did it on Saturday, In the Spotlight Football Blitz. We did it at like 2 o'clock. I think it was like 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, something around there. So if you did not check that show out, make sure that you do. It was, again, done on Saturday. You'll find it under Saturday's date. I don't even know what that date. Oh, the 17th. Because Friday's show was obviously derailed. So we had to do it on Saturday. So if you didn't check out last week's Football Blitz, although that might kind of be redundant, you can do so. Again, it's available. It's on dated December 17th. So check it out if you are interested. All right. So with that being said, we can move on here as Justin's in the background. Hi, Justin. Hey. As all the animals flock down to greet their favorite. Yeah. Okay. So let's get going here. Obviously, Mike is in the spotlight, ready to go, and we're going to move quickly here. All right. So we're going to jump in entertainment. And we got one storyline to cover here. And we're going to cover it quickly because there's not really a whole lot you can say other than the fact that one movie dominated. And that, of course, was Star Wars Rogue One, opening to $290 million worldwide, which is just tremendous. I mean, at this point, they got to be ecstatic, Disney, Lucasfilm, with this because, I mean, you didn't think, and never in a million. I mean, did it get Force Awakens numbers? Obviously not, but it was never going to. Just the fact it did what it covered this much ground on Force Awakens is a testament to the power of the Star Wars name, the brand, and franchise. And also, despite the fact that this movie had a crap ton of reshoots and a lot of negativity at times during the filming, it carried some momentum. It got some good word of mouth, and all of a sudden it took off, and it blasted off in its premiere. It blasted off on Saturday, and it had a Monday yesterday that rivaled Force Awakens. I mean, the fact that it had a Monday like that, and look, I mean, right now, I think Disney and Lucasfilm is pretty much saying right now, we're not moving our movies out of December because they're banking on December, the benefits of opening a movie in late December. College students are out. You're headed towards the Christmas season. More people are willing to, take a chance on a movie, go see a movie. So they're benefiting from it. And they also have had the benefit of scaring a lot of competition away from them before the movie comes out. Last year, Force Awakens had like 2 or 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and their release because nobody wanted to dare put a movie in that time frame. Same thing happened this year at Rogue One. And realistically, Rogue One's going to have less competition coming out of this than Force Awakens did. Yeah, that's not a knock on Assassin's Creed passengers or saying, it's not a knock on them. It's just that they're going to get their audience, but Star Wars has got name quality that's going to draw no matter what. So again, a dominant showing, 155 million domestically, 290 million worldwide. We talked about how this movie's got a better chance of doing better worldwide. Maybe even Force Awakens did. The splits might be better because of the fact it's probably going to do a lot better in some of these Asian markets, which was their goal with this movie, to help get Star Wars into more markets, and they've succeeded in that. And again, the number yesterday, 17 million on a Monday, is just tremendous. So that bodes well for the rest of this week for it, and for the next few weeks until we get into middle part of January. So that's really the story of the weekend. There's really not much you can say other than what Rogue One did. And just a dominant performance. Moana was in second with 12.7, which wasn't a bad hold for its fourth week. Office Christmas Party third, 8.5 million. Collateral Beauty debuted in fourth with 7.1 million, which is a low for Will Smith. Again, a movie that a lot of people were looking forward to, including myself. Again, though, you get caught up. You release a movie like this at this particular time, you get caught up with all the blockbusters, and that's kind of what happened with it. It's a $36 million movie. Not a bad number given the circumstances, but it's not great. And, you got to hope that you just kind of pick up a few million here and there over the course of the next few weeks, and that's all you can really hope for. It's just that you had too much competition in one movie that was a juggernaut. And that's all you can really say. Fifth place went to Fantastic Beasts with 5 million. Everything else finished under 5 million, including two movies that are getting a lot of awards buzz in the form of Manchester by the Sea, which had 4.2, and La La Land, which had 4.1. Both those movies expanded their release. Forget about Manchester by the Sea for a minute. La La Land's total, given all the hype and all the momentum, and given who's in the film, is kind of a disappointment. I know there's only 200 theaters, but given the circumstances, wasn't really a good total in my mind. I thought at least break 5 million. So to all those that think Rogue One was a surprise in performing this way, look, it was in the realm. We all said it last week. I went 80, 90 million because I wasn't sure what a spin-off movie and a standalone movie outside of the main franchise would do. Nobody knew, so you can't to say overestimate. It was a huge shock, or I don't think that's fair. I think you have to look at this as we just didn't know. There was too many uncertainties, and it was always in the realm that the movie could do something like this because of the Star Wars name on it. That's just the bottom line. So another great week for Disney, which made history yesterday by breaking the $7 billion worldwide box office gross number, which is just huge. After Universal set a mark last year over $6 billion. Disney breaks it a year later with $7 billion. With all the releases, it's no wonder. So that's your story of last week. Now, what's your story for this week? Now, here's the deal. You have a really weird setup this week because with Christmas being on Sunday, usually, sometimes you see these movies open that Wednesday or the day before Christmas. Or there's a weird setup this year. You got 3 new releases opening tonight, and by virtue of obviously premieres are tonight and then tomorrow, and then you have one big release on Friday and a couple releases expanding, one tomorrow and one on Friday. So let's focus on tomorrow's first. We do have an expanding one movie opening in limited release, I should say, in Patriots Day, Mark Wahlberg's film about the Boston Marathon bombings. It's opening in 7 theaters. It'll get an expanded release over the next couple of weeks. This movie also stars J.K. Simmons, Michelle Monaghan, John Goodman, and Kevin Bacon. Directed by Peter Berg. Obviously, this will get a lot of people's attention. It's R-rated. So you'll see this expanded release over the next few weeks and probably do very, very well. The 3 biggest releases opening tomorrow. The biggest release is Sing, an animated film from Universal, opening in 4,022 theaters. PG, obviously. It's already had a $17.2 million gross overseas. Matthew McConaughey, Reese Witherspoon, Seth MacFarlane, Scarlett Johansson, John C. Reilly, and Taron Egerton all run their voices. It's been heavily hyped. It's going to make a good amount of money. It's only a $75 million budget, which is pretty good. Moana's dropped enough where I don't think it's going to make too much of a dent in it. So I think it'll probably do very well this weekend. The key is with Christmas being on Sunday. Sunday's always a lower day at the box office anyway. So I don't think Christmas is going to have as much of an impact because people will probably make sneak in a movie on Saturday. So you're probably looking at about $20-30 million at least weekend for Sing. But the other two movies opening this week are looking for better than that. The second biggest release is Passengers, a sci-fi film from Sony Columbia, opening in 3,478 theaters. Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt, and Michael Sheen all star in this film. $110 million budget, so I better hope it gets out of the gate strong. It's had some buzz around it, although I think it's kind of died off as far as awards circulation goes. But, Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence are big draws. You'd like to think this could easily break the $30 million mark. I would think it would. The only reason why, again, any of these predictions we're going to make, the only reason why we're not going to go higher is because you got Christmas on Sunday, so Sunday will probably be even a little less than normal, and then Christmas Eve on Saturday might be lower too. So you got to keep your estimations in check here. So you got Passengers, and then you have Assassin's Creed, an action film from Fox, opening in 2,902 theaters, starring Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, and I can get this up here, Jeremy Irons. PG-13, again, based on the video game. There's been a lot of anticipation about this. There is some little momentum and some word of mouth. Sometimes these kind of movies, action kind of movies, don't do well being released on Christmas unless they're like a franchise or some kind of built-in property. This is a built-in property, so that could help it. I think this movie, it's going to be it's going to be close between this movie and Passengers. I think it's unfortunate that Passengers is opening up opposite this because that's going to hurt it a little bit, I think, especially since it's got more theaters. So you're probably looking at a close 30-35 million between these two, and which one will finish, because they're fighting for second essentially, because Star Wars is probably going to, and Star Wars overperforming by many people's estimations is going to hurt both these movies. So, all right, those are the Wednesday movies. Friday movies, you have an expanding release in Fences, a drama from Paramount, which will be opening wide. This is Denzel Washington's film, all starring Viola Davis. It's already made $144,000 domestic, $24 million budget. Again, another awards buzz movie here. A lot of buzz around it. It should play well with all the audiences, but you wouldn't expect too much. Maybe like 6-7 million over the weekend if it gets there. And then one major release on Friday, a comedy called Why Him from Fox, opening in 2,800 theaters, starring Bryan Cranston, James Franco, R-rated, so that's going to keep it down a little bit. There hasn't been too many comedies. There hasn't been too many R-rated comedies. It seemed to help Office Christmas Party do maybe better than it should have. It might help here. I don't anticipate it making more than 15 million, but we'll see. There's too many other movies out. So basically what you're looking at is this. Star Wars Rogue One will finish first. You're probably looking at 60-70 million. It could be a little lower than that. I don't see it going much higher because of the way the weekend sets up with the holiday. Passengers and Assassin's Creed will battle it out for second, anywhere between 30 and 35 million. I'll say Passengers second, 35 million. Assassin's Creed third, 30, 33, around there. Sing should finish around 20 million, and fourth, 20, 25, that kind of deal. And then you'll have probably Why Him at 15 million. And then you'll have Moana around 8, 9, 10 million. Fences maybe 6-7 million. And that should be about it as far as it falls. Office Christmas Party probably around 5 million. Collateral Beauty will fall under 5 million. That's how it should all settle up this weekend at the box office. So, Mike, you have anything to add?
Star Wars. That's it.
All right, so that's your box office beat. Next week, things calm down considerably because this is really it for the holiday movie season. It's kind of the blow-off, if you will, of the holiday movie season. Star Wars will carry the torch for a few weeks, it looks like. So you'll have that there. But next week, if you look at the release schedule for next week, New Year's week, there's nothing. This is actually there's let's see. yeah. Um, Next week, there's no new releases. Hidden Figures will get a limited release. Yeah, that's it. Hidden Figures getting a limited release. That's all you got. There won't be a major new release until January 6th when Underworld Blood War is released, and a fantasy drama called Monster Calls expands its release into a wide release. That's it. So, a couple weeks here for Star Wars and company to dominate. So, this should be a quiet few weeks as far as the box office goes. Um, a couple of things, couple of entertainment things that you all sent in that you were interested in us covering, not to waste time, but just so I can touch on a few things. Let me pull up this. There was a lot of talk last week about Star Wars, who cast Michelle Yeoh in a leading role, Sonequa Martin Green from Walking Dead in a leading role as the actual lead of the movie of the show. So a lot of people have been asking about like, oh, they're going for ethnically diverse cast. You know, they're going to have, I guess they're going to have two male characters, two male gay characters on the show, and the question that some of our fans have posed is, do you think that they're trying a little too hard? Um, I'll be quick with this. Yes, because I think they're going more for headlines rather than just casting based on character. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have an ethnically diverse cast. That's a great thing. I don't have any issues with doing this, but it seems a little bit too methodical. Like it seems like they're just going out of their way to do it instead of it's just coming naturally from what they're trying to do. Mike, what are your thoughts?
What was the headline? Walking Dead?
No, that Star Wars. Wow, Star Trek. The new Star Trek show seems to be just people think they're trying too hard to be too ethnically diverse or too diverse.
All right. Yes. Um, it kind of started in Beyond where they kind of shoehorned Sulu to be gay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a movie from George Takei. Wasn't really a fan of. Sulu didn't need to be gay, but they made him gay anyway. Now they're shoehorning gay characters, ethnically diverse characters. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are doing this to grab headlines. Star Trek at its core was an ethnically diverse show. It broke a lot of new ground in the original series, with Uhura being Nichelle Nichols being one of the first major African American women to be a lead on a main show, network TV show. George Takei, Asian American. Star Trek's always been ethnically diverse.
Yes.
Even Star Trek Next Generation, ethnically diverse. And they say that because they want it's not just genders or orientations or sexes on the show. Excuse me. In Star Trek, so it's Star Trek, so it's different aliens, different species kind of on the show. So it's always been something at the forefront of the show. But the fact that they're trying to do this means, I guess, that they're trying to grab headlines and make it just trying to bring more eyeballs on the product. Not a bad idea, but they are trying too hard. Now, Brian, I'm done talking. Ergo, I'm going to go back to reading One Piece.
Okay, I'm here. Well, you made the point that it's always been ethnically diverse. So it's not like I don't think this is a case of people not wanting it. I just think it's a case of people don't try to make it so obvious that that's what you're trying to do. You know. All right, we already talked about the Disney $7 billion thing, so I'm not going to begrudge that point. The other thing that we got a lot of mail about was, and it's funny because Mike, you mentioned this the other day. You asked me if Forrest Whitaker was voicing his character from Rogue One in Star Wars Rebels. And I
Yeah.
mentioned that he wasn't. Well, literally today, they come out and say that Forrest Whitaker will start voicing Saul Guerrero on Star Wars Rebels in January.
Oh, good for him. Bad for a
So,
previous voice actor, but good for him.
so there you go. Yeah, that's the only thing I feel bad about is the previous voice actor. But I mean, it's cool for continuity purposes. Obviously, people will be looking for it, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is cool because he played him in the movie." It'll help. It'll help with that, nonetheless. But still, cool. And then one last thing, which has a lot of people wondering, because obviously over the years there's been a lot of rumors about trying to do a Hulk solo movie, and one of the things that people wanted in the Hulk solo movie was Planet Hulk. Well, it's been said that Thor Ragnarok, which will include the Hulk next year, is set to include Planet Hulk's Sakaar, and the director of Thor has said that Jack Kirby's influenced all over this film. So there's a lot of people that think that Planet Hulk, any potential for a Planet Hulk movie, has been kind of molded into Thor Ragnarok, which has people worried that, like Thor: The Dark World, will have a character take away from Thor in a movie once again, just like Loki did in the second one. People think Hulk might take away from Thor in this one. So, Mike, you're a Planet Hulk fan?
In the comics, Planet Hulk was just a way to get Hulk out of Civil War. So the Illuminati, which is the Marvel equivalent of the Illuminati, which is a group of the most powerful and important mutants, which was a group of the most powerful, most influential figures in Marvel Comics. It included Doctor Strange, it included Iron Man, Black Bolt, Professor Xavier, Mr. Fantastic, and so on. All these people had a gem. Now, with the oncoming Civil War, they didn't want Hulk, I guess, to get involved. So through a contrived number of experiences, blah, 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 Hulk was shot into space. Now, Planet Hulk was a successful storyline, and it introduced us to a new version of the Hulk, which is the Green Scholar Hulk. So, Hulk, I think he's masturbating now. Speaking of masturbating, Hulk essentially conquered this planet, became the king, got married, had a kid. The wife died. And he blamed the Illuminati. So Hulk went back to Earth and was essentially the main villain of an arc called World War Hulk. So Marvel's got to do a lot of convincing to see that World War Hulk, if that's the end goal of the Hulk thing, would be a good idea. Otherwise, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I like Planet Hulk being the thing, but it was a popular Hulk storyline, so not a bad idea. Could be worse.
I'm here. Just having issues. I
see that. You should probably wipe.
No, that's not it. But okay. Here's my thing. Okay. I understand that there's reasons why they can't do a Hulk solo movie. I understand that. That's why it's cool that you involve Hulk in other movies. However, in no way, shape, or form does that mean that you should have Hulk take away from the fact that this is a Thor movie. We already basically had Loki do that. Like we just said, Loki did that in Thor 2. There's some people that are concerned that Tony Iron Man is going to do that to Spider-Man, which I doubt because Spider-Man is Spider-Man. But still, you people are concerned about this. They think that when you do these things, now look, they managed to avoid in Civil War having all these characters take away from the fact it's a Captain America movie. They did a very good job of balancing it. If they do that, I say okay. I don't care if they do Planet Hulk elements. I mean, if they do that, that's fine. But it's still at the heart of it needs to be a Thor movie. If it's still a Thor movie, then we're okay. If it's not, and we have, like Loki did in Dark World, him completely just take over, then we have an issue. And I think people have a reason to be worried because it feels like they just threw Hulk in here because, well, we don't want him in Civil War because that creates problems. But people are complaining that we're not using Hulk enough. So, let's just throw him in Thor. Like, it seemed very weird at the time when they announced this. So, I mean, there is reason to be concerned, especially with the Thor movies, because outside of the first one, obviously the second one had a lot of controversy around it with how they handled Loki and Thor. And now people are worried about the same thing. There's evidence here. I can understand why people are concerned. So we're going to, as you get closer to the trailer being released and as you get closer to the movie being released, we'll piece it together and we'll be able to figure out, I guess, what kind of movie you're going to get. We'll see. As long as it's singularly focused on Thor, I think that's all that people are going to really hope for in that regard. So, all right. So that's a couple of little things that you all wanted us to talk about. So we did. We're not going to do any TV highlights this week because, again, there's not much TV on right now. So we'll leave that alone to the new year. We're going to jump to sports real quick. And there's not a lot there either. I mean, we don't cover football till tomorrow. There is not a lot there. And look, the NBA for a lot. We haven't talked about the NBA since the first few weeks of this season. With good reason, because it is early in the year. And then tomorrow, and obviously for many people, the NBA doesn't really. Christmas Day is kind of like the start for people. Obviously they get the spotlight. A lot of big games. You have the finals rematch with the Warriors and the Cavs, and that's going to be the day. That's always the day that puts the spotlight on the NBA, and then people start going, "Oh yeah, the NBA," because football's starting to wind down, and people start to really look at it. So, the NBA will really start to get a little bit of momentum. That first week when it comes back, it has a little bit, and then it kind of gets lost, and it'll get its momentum back a little bit. Christmas Day, and then you have the All-Star game, and it'll pick it up again. So. There's really not anything in the NBA. MLB, there hasn't been anything. Clay Buchholz got traded by the Red Sox today, but essentially was a dump on the Phillies. How far Clay Buchholz has fallen goes to show you. Last week we had a college basketball preview last week. We did a lot with that. There hasn't been too much in the way of big college basketball developments over this past week. Obviously, for our Syracuse fans, we're disappointed in our performance again against Georgetown. But still a pretty good game, classic game. Giles made Duke's top recruit. Giles made his long-awaited debut, did very well. Bob Huggins got his 800th win. He's the 10th coach to do that over the weekend, so that's huge for them. There was a lot of big games tonight. There's a lot of big games going on the next couple of days in college basketball. You have Kentucky, Louisville. Over the weekend, you had Carolina and good Lord, I can't even think right now. Trying to look at this here. I know there was I'm trying to think of who Carolina lost to over the weekend. I'm blanking. Blanking. Here we go. It was on Saturday. I know that, so I'm just going to pull it up. Let's see. Oh, here we go. We had... Oh, no, it doesn't still want to pull up for me. Well, geez, There it is. Okay, so you had Kentucky... Oh, Kentucky beat North Carolina 103-100. So what do we take away from that game? We take away from that game the fact that neither team can play defense. Even though North Carolina has more defenders than they've ever had, they still can't seem to play defense. Kentucky probably has its worst. And I talked about this last week on the previous show. Kentucky probably has its worst defense it's ever had. These guys are all scorers. They're offensive players first, and you're seeing that. And you saw that in fine form. And again, when you get against a team that's going to speed you up in North Carolina, you're going to give up more points anyway. To me, the biggest takeaway from this past week has been Butler. Butler beat Indiana. In Indiana, of course, that doesn't matter. It's like a home game for both teams on Saturday. Butler's 10-1. They've kind of been flying under the radar here, so I think should go. I mean, at this point, I think Butler's made a little bit of an early season statement here. Purdue got a big win over Notre Dame. You had that going on. So some big developments over the week here. I think again, Butler I think had the biggest noteworthy win, um, in beating Indiana, especially again, even though it's technically a home game for them, that's still a pretty big development. So you have that. You had North Carolina losing to Kentucky, which resulted in Gonzaga leapfrogging them in the rankings. Tomorrow, you do have some big games in college basketball. I said Kentucky Louisville is the big one of the centerpiece of this week. 7:00 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. That's obviously a tremendous, huge game tomorrow. A game that I think might fly under the radar for some people. Clemson, South Carolina. Clemson hasn't looked too bad. South Carolina's looked obviously very, very good early. So you have that game going on tomorrow. That's like one of those under the radar kind of games. Kansas UNLV on Thursday might be a sweeper kind of game if you're interested in that. And I think over the week, I don't think there's anything big over the weekend. So Louisville, Kentucky tomorrow is going to tell you a little bit about both teams. Kentucky, we talked about a lot. Again, defensively having issues. Definitely not offensively. And Louisville, we haven't really seen what they can do. Well, they're going to have a chance to show what they can do tomorrow night against Kentucky. And again, Butler, I think, had the biggest big win, the biggest moment this week for sure. Now, again, we talked a lot about these early season games. It seems like a lot of teams have not performed up to par. Again, it's December. We'll see. We've seen that time and time again. Some teams just, whether they play tough schedules, whether they, whether it's just bad luck, whatever, and then they turn it on in late January, February, and they become a force to be reckoned with in March. We've seen that time and time again. And then there's some teams that dominate from the start. Then there's teams that kind of just do okay enough and get along, and they have their deficiencies and they come back to roost when it matters most. You're going to look at some of these teams like Kentucky, North Carolina, and Indiana, all these teams at UCLA, Baylor. A lot of these teams have had the early season spotlight. Yes, they've had some big statements, but they've also seen either moments or games where they've let you down in some ways. UCLA, Baylor, and Indiana have been the flavors of the month. Indiana just lost to Butler. So Indiana's taking a little bit of a hit here. Now Butler is going to take their place as kind of the flavor of the month. How legitimate are they? We'll see. How legitimate was Indiana? We'll see. How legitimate is Baylor and UCLA, who have been tested, but how different will they be once other teams improve? Because everybody's going to improve. Everybody's going to get better. You're only going to get better throughout the season because you're going to practice more and you're going to be tested more. Let's see how they do once they get into conference and they play teams that kind of come into their own. Not everybody gels as quickly. Some teams gel quickly and they take you by surprise. That's kind of the way it goes. So we'll see. But right now, we've already seen one of those early season surprises in Indiana kind of take a hit. And then in that same vein, one team's kind of risen and taken their place, and that's Butler. So, Mike, do you have any takeaways from college basketball over the last week?
Not really. I've been very disappointed in the play of Syracuse, dropping that game to Georgetown, just letting teams back in games is not a good precedent. But that's a trend we've seen with Syracuse. Yes, Kentucky and North Carolina still can't play defense. So Kentucky outscoring North Carolina is a definite point of interest. So that is worth noting. Kentucky could be for real this year, especially since North Carolina was one of those teams everybody thought could make a very, very deep run. Villanova's still dominating. That's going to be the story for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got, really.
Yeah, really.
I check But unfortunately, Google Hangouts
Hates
is
you.
sucking dick.
Yeah. I mean, really, when you look at this past week, it all comes down to Saturday had all the big games, and then that was pretty much it. Um, until tomorrow night when you got Kentucky Louisville, which is a huge game. Like I said, there's nothing in baseball. NBA is kind of slow right now. Nothing in baseball to cover right now. So really, it was all about college basketball. So I think we covered the highlights at least the big highlights. So that's really all we got in sports this week to look at. So we can move on to our wrestling portion here. And it was a big week in WWE. They did, obviously last week they tribute to the troops. They had their WWE week, but obviously they had a big pay per view on Sunday, which really kind of came off more like a Monday Night Raw, but because a lot of the matches were repetitive. I think we all kind of knew that going into the night. We all kind of knew that. Some of these matches were going to be, the first couple matches, the tag match and the Sami Zayn match were really good. They did their job. Great finish. You'll probably talk a lot about this, so I won't go crazy about it. Great finish to the Sheamus Cesaro match with New Day. Great moment with at the end with New Day giving up the titles. Well played there. The Sami Zayn great storytelling match set him up well. Set Braun Strowman up well. So those were good. And then you had matches like Rollins Jericho were just kind of there. So you had that, the cruiserweight match, which I think got overshadowed by what happened afterwards with Neville, which was a great turn that he needed desperately. The women's match, the Charlotte Sasha match was a good match. If you read any of the dirt sheets today, you know that apparently it was Vince's idea to have Sasha Banks tap with a few seconds left to send it into overtime, which he thought was a great moment. The crowd could care less. Look, the crowd hurt the pay-per-view the entire night. But you can't blame them either because, number one, they couldn't sell the building out because it was a late December pay-per-view. Number two, you can't blame them because there was very little to get excited about because a lot of these matches had the same finishes and were very similar to what you've seen on Monday Night Raw for about a month. So, you have to understand the crowd, too. It was an okay match. It was a good match. I mean, Charlotte gets the title again, which, hey, what are you going to do? It's pretty clear that they thought the money was in Charlotte versus Bayley instead of Sasha now. Apparently Vince is very down on Sasha Banks. Well, if that's the case, why not just end this thing a couple months ago and save us all the trouble? It's not like you haven't done filler with other feuds and try to space them out to WrestleMania. Why not do that same thing? But we can go on and on. I digress. The main event was a good match. Owens and Reigns were good until the end when it just kind of was like, okay, we're just going to end. We're just going to have Jericho come in, have a nice little moment where he teases turning on Owens, and that's kind of it. It was a little anticlimactic, but again, this whole pay-per-view was set up to be that way because nothing was going to ever happen. The only thing that you could ever really see happening was a women's title match change, a women's title change, and a tag team title change, and that was it. And that's exactly what you got. That was the only things that I think people thought legitimately had a chance to be something different and something that was movement. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I thought it was okay as a pay-per-view. It wasn't the worst thing. I thought it was better than TLC. Personally, I did. Especially the first two matches. But, Mike, your thoughts on Roadblock?
It was better than TLC. For sure. The first two matches had the most story development of any of them, except for maybe the main event. Oh God, I feel myself getting a cold, and that's not very good. So I'm going to make this short and sweet. Sheamus and Cesaro were absolutely the right move. Taking the titles off of New Day, they were the only tag team with any sort of heat or storyline at this point, or credibility. So Sheamus and Cesaro winning was great. And I feel like they could carry the titles for a while, and hopefully they will. It's a good moment. They're like, oh, we're congratulating Cesaro. Hmm. Just reinforcing the fact that Sheamus is still not a face yet. He's almost a tweener status. Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman. Solid match, good storytelling. There's a big thing, though, that Braun could have beaten Sami at any time. The story, I guess, that people were saying was like, well, yeah, Braun could have beaten Sami at any time. He just chose to keep it moving, keep going forward with it. He didn't want to stop because he wanted to send a message. And it kind of cost Braun Strowman. It makes Braun Strowman look bad in a way. And a lot of that was story related. So either way, Sami winning was the right move. Sami winning by draw, time limit draw, was the right move. Not having Sami appear on Raw was the wrong move. Neville turning was the absolutely right decision. It was smart. Expect him to take the title at the next opportunity. Good moment. Good moment. Excuse me. What else? Look, I understand there was more money in Charlotte versus Bayley, but the fact that we kept on going back and forth, and this was the final conclusion, was stupid as shit. It was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like neither of these women could defend the title against each other. You know what? I'm glad it's done, but I'm sorry. Sasha should have carried the title outside of this match. The finish was dumb.
Yeah.
The finish was dumb. You only run that finish as if Sasha is going to retain in the overtime. What are you doing? So you did the wrong finish. Charlotte's champion again. She's going to carry it into WrestleMania and drop it to Bayley because that's how this is going to go. Whew. It was an intense match. It was a good wrestling match. Wrong result. Dumb finish. Kind of was hurt by that. Rich Swann retaining was the right call, but I don't know. They got to teach the outlandish Rich Swann how to be intense sometimes. Even though that's not his character, I think he needs to. Neville is going to have to force him to evolve. Jericho versus Rollins happened. You could only do so much with the lack of Triple H. Roman Reigns needs to eat a pin here. At some point, Roman Reigns needs to eat a clean loss. And then he needs to defend his U.S. title consistently. Because I'm sorry, that thing's getting lost in the shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's title should have been on the line here. Title for title. That should have been the whole thing. Make the stakes make it more important. Because the fact that Roman's title wasn't up is disappointing. The fact that it won't be up again at Royal Rumble is disappointing. What's the point of him having it?
Right.
The whole point of him taking it off of Rusev is like, oh, Roman Reigns is going to defend the U.S. title like John Cena.
Right.
He's defended it after he beat Rusev at Hell in a Cell. He's defended it once. Once.
Yeah, that's a double standard.
Roman needs to defend that thing. Otherwise, the U.S. title is being forgotten and insulted and booed because it's on Roman Reigns. Roman needs to defend that thing. And if this was the finish you were going to get, and I like the finish of Jericho Owens was the second most intelligent finish of the night. The first, obviously, going to Sheamus and Cesaro beating the New Day on the fake tag. Great move. But Jericho coming down, staring at the title, kind of building off that animosity with Owens, and then hitting him with the code breaker, getting Reigns disqualified, and then handing him the title and hugging. Holy shit, that was a clever ending. That was a very clever ending. And then you have the Shield stuff because they're going to push the Shield. They're going to push the Shield guys. So you have the Shield power bombs. Ooh, yeah, all right. So and it ends off on the crowd acting mild on a mini Shield reunion. The crowd was not great, but do you know who they didn't support? Roman Reigns. So having the show end with Roman standing tall again
Doesn't help.
it does not help. The crowd was like, well, we've seen this. Who cares?
Yep.
Let us know when Ambrose shows up again. Then we can have the real Shield reunion. By the way, next year's draft in 2017 WWE draft, look for Dean Ambrose to end up on whatever brand Roman and Seth are on. Wait for that one. So, Roadblock happened. Was it the best pay-per-view? No. Was it a glorified Raw? Kinda. Was it better than TLC? Yeah. So that's just the long and the short. It happened.
Sure.
They really need to do less pay-per-views because you can't do this.
Well,
This many pay-per-views is killing the business. And now Royal Rumble is at the very end of January. You've got 6 weeks to build programming, and you don't know what to do. It was evident on Monday, and I bet it's evident tonight on SmackDown that they don't know what to do.
right.
So
Um,
this is going to be a rough period. And there was no Slammies. The fuck?
yeah, it's at least the Slammies would have bought them a week of filler.
Yep.
And good filler, not bad filler.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a mistake. So you had that. We had Monday Night Raw last night, which again, the Braun Strowman angle was probably the most fascinating angle of the entire night. We started Charlotte Bayley, which was horrible. The promo was horrible. The match was kind of ugh. You had that. The Owens Jericho stuff was set up for the Rumble, with Jericho being set up to be suspended over the ring in a shark cage. So Reigns will be facing Owens with Jericho in the shark cage above the ring. As my dog goes crazy. So you have that, and then you had the Braun Strowman thing at the end, which seemed to indicate what many people have been saying for a couple of weeks now. And it's accruing the dirt seats that Roman Reigns will likely be facing Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. And you had that's pretty much all but set up in a lot of ways last night. So fairly predictable nonetheless. But still, I thought it was effective. I mean, I was kind of surprised they started that angle that quickly, but there was a lot more movement than there usually is in a pre-Christmas Raw, which I was kind of shocked by, that they started so many of the Rumble things so early and without setting up something. Usually what they'll do is they'll set up a couple of matches for the first Raw of the new year, and then they'll do and then set up everything for the Rumble. They didn't do that this year. So it's kind of interesting that they would do, especially considering a lot of these angles are, been going on for a while. You would think they'd want more filler. So it's kind of shocking that they're going to try to drag some of these out for a few more, all this time to the Rumble without having like what they usually do on the first Raw of the new year. So that was an interesting choice in my opinion. It kind of tilted their hand about WrestleMania on top of the Braun Strowman stuff. So, Mike, your thoughts on? You already kind of mentioned some of your thoughts on Raw, but if you have anything else to add, go ahead.
I will say this. I just read a headline that said the Raw rating was up.
Yeah.
The fact that the Raw rating is up on the Kevin and Chris reunion speaks volumes to how much people give a shit about Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
Because they certainly aren't tuning in for Roman Reigns. So the fact that we're doing the shark cage thing, it would have had more impact if they didn't just do that in NXT.
Yeah.
With the Authors of Pain having Paul Ellering suspended above the ring in a shark cage. And Paul Ellering acted more like a badass than Chris Jericho did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of not great, but fair enough. So I don't know. Raw happened.
Braun Strowman.
Raw happened, but I was going to get to that. So I was reading this thing about what happened in Pro Wrestling Noah this weekend.
Hey.
Because, as everybody knows, I do enjoy Minoru Suzuki smacking a bitch. So, the fact that Sami Zayn was not on Raw was a little disappointing. Especially because they didn't kind of do anything involving him. They didn't do anything to build up Sami Zayn. I'm not sure why they didn't. I know because I know the whole reason was they wanted to build up Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman just wrecking everybody's shit all night was easily the most interesting part of Raw. Braun Strowman comes out. He wrecks Titus O'Neil and Sin Cara. He throws Sin Cara through a Christmas tree. That was pretty epic as shit. Then there was then he comes out. He wrecks Seth Rollins. He wrecks Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens yelling, "You remember last night? Have fun, buddy!" Throws him in the ring. Braun Strowman beats up Roman Reigns some more. Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens looking all smug on the rap, mocking the Shield. That was a great go-home segment. The problem is they always like doing a big thing for the first Raw of the new year. I'm scared that the big thing they're going to do is Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho versus Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I'm scared because we just saw the match, and it's not going to be more interesting than Braun Strowman coming out and just beating the piss out of the guys who were in the Shield. This Braun Strowman beating the shit out of everybody last night was easily the most interesting thing on Raw. Easily the most interesting thing on Raw. The Divas stuff fell flat completely. Cedric Alexander versus Noam Dar, I understood would have been better had it been given more time. Other than that, Neville was interesting again. Mm-hmm. Brian Kendrick was interesting. TJ making the save, okay. Rich Swann needs to get intense. But I mean, Raw was only okay last night. Raw was only okay.
I will give them a tremendous amount of credit for not making it a completely abysmal waste of time like they have in past years. I mean, at least they did something, which I'm still shocked by. They'll probably look at next week as the waste week, but we'll see. It's just really shocking how they kind of tipped their hand on a lot of their Mania stuff early last night, but it is what it is. You kind of had something like that happen on SmackDown tonight a little bit. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, that was waiting for a while. I will say this much. I don't want to spoil anything, but then again, most people probably watch it live. I would hope they do. But they finally treated James Ellsworth like he should have been treated tonight.
Okay.
I will just say the opening segment, and then there's something interesting that happens later where they kind of pretty much signify that he is done as a main eventer. So a much better booking night on SmackDown tonight. And then there was, I really like where I think they're going with The Miz. At least he's feuding with somebody that's at the top. It's a little bit better. You have that. And then you have an interesting development in terms of next week's WWE Championship match with AJ Styles. I know that spoils what happens with Ellsworth, but did you seriously think Ellsworth was going to beat AJ Styles for the title?
He didn't?
No,
No way.
I know.
But Daniel Bryan wanted him to be champion.
I'm sure he did. There was also a really cool thing that they did with Becky Lynch tonight that I thought was hilarious. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was really funny. It's something they need to do more with Becky. It was really cool. I really like what they did there. So I mean that was good. There was a lot of interesting things that they did on. They had Ryan Phillippe there, which was nice in that, but they did something really interesting. With the WWE title, which makes me wonder about next week. I don't anticipate a title change, but they did something interesting. So watch that last segment. We'll see what happens there, but at least it's fresh. That's all I'll say. So it was an interesting kind of SmackDown tonight. I mean, it was one of their better shows. It's been one of their better shows. It's been a long time since I can say that, but it helps that they finally kind of put Ellsworth in his place a little bit. That helps a lot, actually. A lot. And we kind of got away from some of these feuds that have been going on and on and on, like Ambrose and Styles and Ellsworth and Ziggler and Miz. We kind of look like we're going in different directions finally, which makes a big difference, in my opinion. So I'm not going to spoil any of that, but, I just thought I would mention some of that. So I think we got through everything we had to get through. There's a couple other wrestling things I could mention, but I'm not going to because I don't know. I don't like to get too much into some speculation because it might spoil a little too much, and some of it might just be not. It might not be credible enough to bring up on air, so I'm not going to go there. So, been about an hour, so I think we can wind down now. So I think it's time. It's time. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to the show. You continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, your opinions, reactions, or comments on things we said on the show, things we talked about on the show, ideas or topic ideas or breaking news items from sports, entertainment, or wrestling that you want us to cover. Again, we encourage your feedback right now. It's really helping us in formulate our plan for what we're going to do in 2017. So feedback, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag #ITSpotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our fan page upon finding it on Facebook. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show. Obviously, we sometimes have delays, postponements, scheduling changes, all those kind of things. You saw that last week, what happened on Friday. Last minute things happen sometimes in the middle of the show. So you want to make sure you tune in to check our social media feeds, both on Facebook and Twitter, to get the latest information about the show. And we also post random things on there as well. So make sure that you do that. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The search for In the Spotlight 411 so you can have access to the latest information, among other things. We like to keep up with our show and look back at classic episodes or whatever the case may be. If you're a fan of streaming, maybe you like seeing us on screen, maybe you're only interested in more recent episodes of our show, if any of that applies to you, then you might want to seek us out on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll have access to all the episodes from October 2015 all the way up until tonight's episode. Those are all of our more recent episodes. You can stream them anytime you wish. So if you're interested in that, make sure you look us up on Google Plus and YouTube to search for In the Spotlight 411. If you're more of a fan of audio podcasts, maybe you want to listen to us on the go, maybe just rather listen to us instead of seeing us. And also, if you're interested in older episodes of our show, then you might want to check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. And you'll have access to every episode we've done over the 6 years we've been doing the show. Everything from October 2010 all the way to tonight's episode is available in order from the most recent episode to the oldest. All Google Plus and YouTube episodes, everything from October 2015 to tonight, has been transferred into audio format for your convenience. Maybe you're a longtime fan. Let's look back at episodes from 3, 4, 5 years ago. Maybe a new fan and never heard or saw those episodes. Maybe you just want to keep up with recent episodes or missed the Power episode. Whatever the case may be, you can do all that on Podbean and iTunes as well. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, all ways to keep up with the show. and look back at classic episodes. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes. Search for In the Spotlight 401 on all those sites. Again, search for In the Spotlight 401 on all those sites to keep up with episodes and look back at classic episodes. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time for bed.
Thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for having me be on a cameo appearance.
I don't know what he said.
Thank you for letting him be on as a cameo appearance. That's what he said. Thank you so much for watching, and to those that will be watching or listening to this later as well, thank you to you as well. That is our only primetime show of this week. Again, we will have another show tomorrow. That will be the In the Spotlight Football Blitz, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Look back at last weekend, the NFL. Look ahead to this weekend, the NFL, college football bowl games, all that good stuff. Our next primetime show will be next Thursday, December the 29th, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Please note that. We'll do sports, entertainment, wrestling, all that, just like we did tonight, next Thursday. And, of course, again, tomorrow, the Football Blitz. And after tomorrow, next Football Blitz will be next Friday, December 30th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So next show tomorrow in the Spotlight Football Blitz, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Next primetime show next Thursday, December 29th. At 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then a Football Blitz next Friday as well, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's our schedule for this week and next week. So if in the event that you do not watch or listen to the Football Blitz show tomorrow, I hope you all have a great Christmas and a great week and a half here, and we'll talk to you again next week. If you are going to check out the Football Blitz show, we'll talk to you again tomorrow. So have a good night, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.